Where's your favorite place to take college game day? And I say every time, Eugene, Oregon.
Hello and welcome, Ducks fans, where and whenever you're watching or listening. This is the OnceADuck podcast, where we usually bring you up to date with current and former University of Oregon athletes and give you never before heard stories about your favorite teams and moments in Ducks history. But after this Ohio State game, we've had a few scheduling issues, and today I'm your only former Duck. With me always is your current student host, Sam. After that win, man, I'm so excited. How are you feeling there down in Eugene?
You know what? It's a fun energy down here. I remember going out the night after that ball game, and it was a really, really good time. First and foremost, wow. Just wow. Crazy time. Fun day afterwards. But you know what they say. 1-0, on to the next week. Stony Brook Seawolves are on the way, aren't they?
Yes, on to Stony Brook. Just kidding. Oh my goodness. What a game. What a game. What a game. We told everyone, well, I told everyone, because if I remember properly, Sam, you were a doubter, but I said I saw an Ohio State demise. Man, the way it didn't play out like I expected, but oh my goodness, I'm so happy it played out like it did. And we had the rest of the day to celebrate here watching a 9 a.m. game. First and foremost, before we get into your experience, I want to know how our fans are doing out there. Man, not only did we have a great game, but we had a great rise in subscribers, up over 100 on YouTube. We hope you're subscribing and follow us on Twitter. Make sure at OnceADuck is on your follows, and at Samuel101TS, and yours truly at JustFollow61. But oh my goodness, we also have a new program that just for this month you're going to be able to get in on. And for now, I'm just announcing the end of September. If you're in the inaugural OnceADuck VIP program, you have an opportunity to become a Ducks letter winner. I found one of my old extra letters. Don't know where number 2 is. Number 1 still sewed into my Letterman's jacket. Number 4, I think I've passed on to a friend, but this one is going away to one of our subscribers. The same, you know what they have to do to get it?
Well, Nick, I can tell you right now, you are going to want to become an inaugural VIP member to OnceADuck. What that means is you'll have the exclusive capabilities of seeing some phenomenal content that we're going to have for you, whether it's post-game reactions, pre-game thoughts, whether it's an extra video here or there, maybe even an extra interview or two down the line, especially when we get things going just a little more. All you got to do, get involved there, get a hold of Nick. He'll tell you how much we got to rip out of your wallet for you to be willing to do it. And after you do, you are eligible for so much awesomeness, whether it's an experience, whether it's videos, whether it's content. We have it for you, and we're excited to give it to you. And
it's only $5 this month. Get in on our inaugural program, and after this, you'll be at our VIP tier, but not inaugural. So this is going to be a kind of a very first group here. We have 8 as we record this episode, but I only see that growing going into this weekend. And oh my goodness, thank you guys that have donated. You've been so generous, and we thank you for your reviews and want you to know that we're going to get to your guys' questions and comments first and foremost on Twitter, and we're going to always try and respond, retweet those, and give you guys the love back that you've given us to keep this show going. And now I don't have to worry about the subscription payments for a couple months, and we could probably pay our Dropbox fees, so we quit running out of storage and having to delete stuff, huh, Sam?
I mean, that would be preferable, Nick, unless we're going to go get some more full 1 gigabyte or 1 terabyte boxes. I think we're going to need to definitely get some more space on there.
Well, you're not wrong about that. But moving on, and as we do so quickly with our lightning yellow round, we're going to have 2 of them for you today since we don't have a guest. And since I'm on vacation, messing up our schedule this week, and as we release this, I'll be in Vegas repping our Ducks hard every single day at Life is Beautiful. So any Ducks fans out there, hit me up if you see me. I'll be easy to find. But our lightning round would give us 2 minutes to talk about a subject, and what better subject than the Ohio State game? Oh my goodness. I don't know where you're going to start, Sam, but let me know when I need to start the clock.
Nick, you can start the clock right about now. First and foremost, the Oregon Ducks came out in a way that I don't think anybody's ever really seen to that degree. I think that it's understood that the Oregon Ducks have always been, or at least recently always been, a fairly prominent team, a fairly prominent organization, a fairly prominent program. But what we saw was a version of Oregon football that I'm not sure a lot of people, myself included, understandably so, didn't really fully expect to see. It was powerful. It was strong. It was aggressive. You got guys like CJ Verdell having absolute career games. Anthony Brown making every correct decision. One of my players of the game, the Predator, DJ Johnson out there making plays offensively and defensively, going Charles Nelson in a way we haven't seen since 2015. Nick, I've got so much more to say on this, and I'm going to say it afterwards, but with about a minute left, take over.
Hey, man, you got that in with about 45 seconds, but I'm ready to take it running. I'll give you the baton for a little bit to close it out. But I just got to let you know the things that really stood out to me is this team's performance without Kayvon Thibodeau and Justin Flo, especially. There were so many guys having to get out there and play, like you even said, finish the game with the Predator getting the sack. Man, what a way to win. And physically dominant, and in terms of schematically dominant on offense. It was amazing how many times we had our running backs able to go to the end zone nearly untouched, or get 20 yards before they were even able to get touched. And that is all a part of scheme. And it wasn't that they were pulling everything out of the bag. It was really just the foundational plays of their offense that we're seeing. It's not quite the rope option of the Dennis Dixon days, but it's pretty similar. And I'm going to give you about 25 seconds. Go ahead, close this out.
Well, Duck fans, Oregon was able to get that win, and now they look forward, but they look forward with the understanding that this team can go in to anywhere and do anything. For my doubt, I apologize. I didn't know that was capable. I didn't know they were capable. They are, they will be. This is going to be a really fun year.
Well, man, and with 2 seconds to spare, perfect. With the best way, the only better way we could close that is how we finished when we won games back in my day. And I don't know if they still do it now, but I hope they do. But we get in the locker room, sing the fight song we just played. And you know what we did, Sam?
What'd you do?
We got everybody chanting, open the door, open the door, open the expletive. I'm not going to get into our swear jar this week, saving that money for Vegas. The expletive door. And as soon as that door is open, we all chanted, hooray for Oregon, hooray at last, hooray for Oregon. We kicked your ass. And that's a direct quote, so that's not going in the swear jar either. But I loved that to close out games, and, just the energy in the locker room, especially on the road where it's usually, you're in tight, packed. It's not usually the most comfortable situation. And it was a different energy. Seeing those videos of Coach Cristobal, we've seen him do the ground and pound there before, but man, he was into it like we haven't seen. And it was amazing to see all the fans at the end of the game and just how much support they had there in the horseshoe, and really made it a home away from home there at the end as fans were piling out. And we saw from a lot of our subscribers out there who showed us videos just how fantastic views that was for them. And our Ducks that went on that road trip will have some they could talk about forever.
And Nick, that really was just such an unreasonably terrific trip. I know that we're past the lightning yellow run, but it's worth saying, I'm not sure Oregon has even played in really, but has won a bigger non-conference game like this in the preseason. I'm not including bowl season. Bowl season is what that's postseason. That's different. I'm not sure if I've seen a preseason game of this prominence out of Oregon. I'm including the Michigan State matchups because as great as those were, Oregon was usually favored, or they were at least a little bit closer in the rankings. They were tighter matchups. I'm looking past the Tennessees of the world, because even though that was a great game, and I know we're going to talk about the transition between that week to the next a little bit more later, Tennessee was what they were that year. That's a terrific environment, but that's a team that's not quite what they were maybe during the Peyton Manning era. You have to go back to like a Michigan for a game of this size, this magnitude. And even they were coming off a loss to Appalachian State. You can rack your brain back as far as you want to, and you're going to have to go back a while. if you want to use a conference game, I'm sure Oregon played USC when they were number 1 at some point. It's happened. There have been big games, but I really can't think of something that is this vital, this important, that's going to breed this much out of it as this Ohio State game did.
We're too young, man. Maybe there's someone out there, an old Ducks fan, that knows some that could just compares on this scale. But again, those same games are the same things I think of. But if you know of one that you think of that ranks higher than that, let us know in the comments or in the replies on Twitter, and we might throw it on the next episode, because I'd be interested to hear it. Because to me, oh man, that especially it being Ohio State and us keeping them from going 10-0 against us all the time. I wore this hat, especially once we got this monkey off our back, as I was telling you before the show, still has the sticker on it from the day we got it, the week we went to the Rose Bowl to play Ohio State in 2010. And it has the sticker on it because I haven't worn it very much. It's a nice hat. Love this thing. Doesn't fit too bad, even with the long hair now still, but I just, every time I saw that 2010 on the back and just kind of thought about, that's a red and black hat. I just remembered how that Ohio State game played out and how we're probably just a couple plays away, a couple Kenny Rowe sacks away from getting that first win against Ohio State. But man, it was worth it. It was worth it, especially to do it there at home. And, in a game where our defense really played to be the epitome of bend but don't break. They gave up a ton of yards, but man, with as many injuries and unexpected plays and times getting caught off guard, checking the wristband on for the playbook, man, it was the epitome of bend but don't break, and shows you just how tough this team is in the red zone.
You're absolutely right. It does show the bend but don't break mentality. First and foremost, I think it's worth mentioning, at least on this point, if we're talking about the Oregon defensive secondary, it was huge to have those guys back. DJ James had a really good ball game. A couple of big pass breakups, some really good coverage on the sideline. Jamal Hill, we didn't see him in there with the starting defense as much, but he was great in special teams all day long, getting up and down the field, being a gunner on the punts, really getting work done. He was phenomenal as well. The Oregon secondary did such a good job. Ohio State, they had one play that was in the 40-yard range pass-wise. The next longest was 29 yards. Oregon did such a great job keeping everything in front of them. And maybe the thing that warmed my heart the most, I don't know, Nick, I remember watching your guys' teams play, watching generations of Oregon Ducks teams play. They were always so fundamentally sound and so strong, but when they played those big, aggressive opponents, sometimes they really did struggle to finish a tackle, to bring a guy down when they needed to. I'm not sure I have to bring up the most prominent example of that ever. If we look at that game, though, Oregon did such a phenomenal job making tackles where they need to, the guys in the secondary included, whether it's McHale Wright, whether it is DJ James, like I mentioned earlier, whether it's a guy like a Steve Stevens or Verone McKinley, who was incredible in this matchup
and love adding him to the highlights at the beginning. Gotta love that.
Oh, we had to include him. That's a phenomenal. If there is a guy who exemplifies what I think Oregon football is becoming, it's Verone McKinley. I'm sorry, I'm going to take a minute here. I'm a big Verone McKinley fan just because I remember that 2019 season he came out. Not a lot of us knew exactly who he was, and he went out there. He got some picks we weren't expecting, became a freshman All-American. Dude is an absolute baller. He showed it again on Saturday. The interception was amazing, but how many times did he hit a dude so hard they dropped the ball, be able to create some incompletes? He had the forced fumble on the kick. Really phenomenal work from him. This Oregon secondary, I'm a big secondary fan. The Oregon secondary is part of why I became a football fan, watching guys like Walter Thurman and TJ Ward and Patrick Chung back in the day. My goodness.
D-boy
era. And it's coming back strong. This Oregon defense, if there was a D-boy era since then, it is this one right here. I'm a big fan of this group for the Ducks.
Yeah, and I we'll talk about it to close out our show with a second lightning round for you. But I mean, we could start hearing in the next couple of years that this is the DBU, because talk about production in the pro level right now. Oregon's got some DBs and some other players out there we'll have to talk about a little bit later. But so exciting, so awesome. But as always, we want to focus this show on what you want to hear about. And other than bringing you great interviews, which again, I apologize, we don't have for you this week. Sam can always interview me, but first and foremost, we got to address the Twitter questions out there that we thought were pretty good. At B Young 4282. He's hit us up before, Bryce Young. He's asked OnceADuck on the podcast, can you explain the defensive position job responsibilities that are named different things, such as the joker, boundary corner, boundary safety, etc.? Sam, how would you respond to this question as a pretty highly educated football fan, I would say?
I mean, I'm a somewhat educated football fan. When it comes down to this stuff, I generally try to leave that up to you. But since you're going to decide to tee this one up to me, I'll give it a little bit of a chance. I'll start with the joker position, at least that position. They have Kayvon Thibodeau playing a lot. It really is another name for one of those dynamic guys who you can really have lined up, 3-point stance, fingers in the dirt, ready to come off the edge, or he can back up a little bit, jump back into more of an outside linebacker role, be able to use some of that athleticism, get to guys on the boundary, maybe even jump into coverage if he absolutely needs to. I think that's the position that you put somebody who you know is extremely capable at. That's where you want someone who really knows what they're doing and is really athletically gifted and capable and able to cover as much ground as a guy like Kayvon Thibodeau is. Now, Do we know when he's going to come back? Not necessarily. Do we want to see it against the Seawolves? He's at the top of the depth chart, though. He is there. Always love to see number 5 play. Hopefully we can see him use some of that position and use it to the fullest coming up here in the next few weeks. Nick, I'll leave boundary corner and boundary safety up to you. I was just talking a lot about the secondary, but I feel like you can give a better explanation of this than I truly can.
Well, I think you nailed it, and I was going to give you the opportunity because you went even deeper than I knew, because to me, football terminology is football terminology, and so to some degrees it's interchangeable. And for us, we use joker a little bit. Coach Gray would use that occasionally in the film room, but there was just different kinds of terminology. And boundary corner versus field corner, it's something that schematically may or may not apply to certain defenses. But what you need to know about the football field is the boundary means the short side of the football field. So if you've got the ball on the left hash, it's going to be that left side of the field. Why is that? Because there's more open space to the right side of the field. You're going to have to, usually, especially with all these spread offenses you see, you have to account for multiple wide receiver sets, which usually means you're going to be pulling a linebacker or two out of the box or having to bring another safety in the game, adjust personnel. So don't get too caught up when you hear people try and sound all smart, like, oh, did you see the boundary corner there? Or this guy's a great boundary corner. Sometimes schematically, someone is much better in that position because you'd like a boundary corner. In my mind, I want someone that has the ability to really come up and stop the run, because when you have that short side of the field, there's a good tendency right there to just smash the ball right there to that side of the field. Or you want a guy that's able to get, that entire section of the field covered, that entire deep third usually, and make sure that they have that entirely locked down, so you can have a typical, cover 3 or cover 1, and keep that safety there in the middle. And, especially with a guy right there in your boundary, if you can have him be a blitzer and the offensive line can't see him out of the corner of their eye at the snap of the ball, it's a great weapon. And doing that from the field, very, very dangerous to do. You're not usually going to be bringing your field side corner. So those kind of terminologies, that's what it's really for. It's situational football, trying to describe things in situations, because different systems have different terminologies. And the joker, Sam actually absolutely nailed it, unless we're both incorrect. But back in our day, that was kind of that Kenny Rowe. He was absolutely athletic enough to pass rush, and you wanted him pass rushing all the time. But when you dropped him back in coverage, he was really effective at it. And man, he could get, the quarterbacks having to, look the other way, spend that extra time for someone else to go and get a sack. So it's a great question. We love these kind of things to just kind of educate our football fans out there and share the knowledge that we have. And, whatever helps everybody enjoy the game. And that's what OnceADuck's here for, baby.
Absolutely. Always make sure each week, anytime you have questions, hit us either after a game, whether it's about something you just saw coming into the week, with something you might see for the next week, or just a general football question you have, please, at OnceADuck, be willing to drop it there. Also, I don't know about Nick, but my DMs are open, so anytime, feel free to drop something in there. We'll happily put it on the show as well. Yeah. Always willing to promote your guys' questions as much as our own, even though I'm sure we always do have plenty of our own.
Yeah, and we even got a response in our replies from Joey Harrington this week. We quote tweeted him for after the game, and just wanted to remind everybody that that's one of the biggest pieces of the foundation. Just telling it how it is, and explaining what a huge journey it is, because man, to get your football program to just elevate this way over the years and build to what it is, and in what, Eugene, Oregon, many people would just not consider a football town for so many years. You think about when I was growing up and it was just becoming something that was like, oh my goodness, it's starting to get absolutely crazy as soon as I'm just starting to get old enough to be interested in football. So we're very, very lucky, and hope we get even luckier by getting Joey Harrington on sometime. But he said, thank you for the kind words. We all worked so hard to get to this point, and it's true, man. Every time I go back and I look at that place, like we did Fresno State game, both being there, man, it just seeing all the changes constantly, all the improvements. It's just like the program itself, just constantly getting better, and every single day, and every single week, they got to keep winning. It's what got to be 1-0 this week, Sam, and Stony Brook's all the same. I know it sounds crazy, but faceless opponent, man. You gotta go out there and execute and try and improve all the things, because even though we beat Ohio State, it was anything from a perfect game, and our offensive defensive coordinators would be the first ones to tell you that.
Every time you touch the field, you need to come out and play like it's the last game you're ever going to play. I think this Oregon team is a team that's coached well enough, that has the right culture, that has the right level of intensity and level of capability to always be able and willing to do that. Folks, as we mentioned earlier, there is no interview today. We're going to have some very, very fun ones down the road for you. But today we're riding solo just to take care of a couple of things, be able to clean up a little bit, if you will. Nick's got a big weekend ahead, as we all know. We're all praying for him as much as we can. And we're very much looking forward to seeing as many of you back at Autzen this weekend, at least I am, as possible. It'll be a great time. Nick, we do have to get into our last lightning yellow round at the very end. We've got some Stony Brook to talk about. Heck, I've even got a question for you before that about getting ready for the FCS opponent. But before we get to that point, I want to be able to look at some things from that Ohio State game, some things that really stuck out. Nick, you ready to review some film?
Let's hit the film room, baby. You know I love it. I'm never turning down a chance to watch some film.
Here we are. It's the second drive of the game for the Ducks, if I'm not mistaken. They started on their own 1-yard line, worked it all the way down. Currently, they have it on the 14-yard line, 1st down and 10. Before we even start the play, we see trips up to the right. We see DJ Johnson pulled off the line a little bit, brought down, still in the tight end position, but he's just a little bit lower. And then you've got what you got in the backfield. First and foremost, what are you seeing here? What are you seeing from the Ohio State defense? What are you seeing from Oregon's alignment?
Well, first of all, notice that we have our, so you always have to, at least formation-wise, have your tackles covered. So end line man of scrimmage is not going to be eligible. But so these guys have to be able to line up in formation properly. But the thing I like most about this is it's not our pistol formation where you've got the back lined up right behind. You've got the back lined up, as I always loved, right there by the side, giving you a lot of interesting angles. And to complement that, by bringing that boundary receiver or tight end in close right next to the left tackle there, you're giving your left tackle a little bit of extra security and support, because that defensive end knows that his rush lane might get tightened up if that guy comes to chip him on a pass rush. And just formationally on this run play, they know that if they overreact, you can easily get that edge. So as you're go ahead and you're going to see let it roll, essentially you can get a puller out there that doesn't have to do a whole lot of work if you scheme it up properly. So yeah, you get a little pulling action out there. Gotta love the offensive lineman leading the way, gets his picture in the paper. It's beautiful. But oh my goodness, I just love this play because you can see that honestly, just schematically, we're at least getting down into the 5-yard line inside that without even having to necessarily lay a block on the edge. It's amazing.
So right here, from this perspective, Nick, you can already see the lineman pulling right here. You have the right guard pulling. You've got Verdell coming across. You've got Johnson right here ready to come down and hit this block.
Well, what I love most people won't notice is on the 3 technique, look how close hip to hip our offensive linemen are working a double team off to this backside backer right here. Look at the left tackle and left guard. You got to be real good buddies with your guard to get that tight. You know what Coach Wood used to make us do? One of those blocking pads that you used to have to hold Yeah, we didn't use those much for just blocking, but he'd stick one of those between you and your partner. You had to keep it there with your butt cheek while you tried to block a defender to practice that. And man, those guys are butt to butt. That's perfect coaching. And then you get push on that down lineman. You don't even have to get off that block to come to your linebacker if you just wash that guy straight into him. And it gets me excited. Love it. I know Cristobal loved it too. You had to imagine watching this film and then, pulling guard right here, you get your picture in the paper. That's a beautiful shot right there. Even you're walking that in for a touchdown, Sam.
I'm not quite sure about that. I'm not sure. I might have to dive for the pylon. It'd be real close.
Oh, you are. And the lineman's going to have to take out two of those guys. But I'm believing, look at this angle. If that is a slower running back, I mean, that lineman's in a perfect position to just kind of bowl and ball those two pins right there. But they don't even have a chance. Bam. It's amazing. And it was just, the wrinkles of this offense. It wasn't anything crazy. These are kind of base plays, it seems like, that have multiple reads and options off them. And man, that's exactly what you'd love to see in this film room.
Number 2, we're going to right here, Nick. We are going with the long CJ Verdell run, a 77-yarder. We see it right here on the 23-yard line. I definitely didn't have to do some quick mental math right there. Right here off the jump, we see, again, 3 wide receivers to the top. You've got a tight end there also to the top. You've got your running back there to the right side of Anthony Brown. Right here, right away, what are you seeing immediately?
So we've got basically the same formation to the other side of the field, but we've taken that wide receiver tight end threat and put him in an overhang on the left side. So what this does is it gives your right tackle has no protection here. But again, now the defense doesn't have to have a corner over there, but they're overloaded to the other side. I think, I believe this position, I'm not sure. I'd have to look into the rules, college rules again, but this may be possibly a tackle eligible position too on the right side. But again, not important necessarily for this play, but it's awesome to show on film and see that you have options. So not sure exactly what you call this, some kind of a quad or something with a 4 to indicate you've got the 4 essential receivers up back to that side. But man, this is just another one of those plays that, you show execution and it makes it look a whole lot fancier than it is when it works right.
So first and foremost, the very first thing I like before we even get into it, I love watching the tight end move. The tight end move just before the snap. What he's able to do is beautiful in just drawing and just freezing the defenders just for a second right there. Mm-hmm. You'll talk a lot more about it. But before we even get into that, Nick, I want to be able to take this just for a second and deposit right about here. Yeah. Right here. Tell me everything you're seeing.
Daylight. It reminds me a lot of LaMichael's run against Stanford. I think it was 2011 at home, and 2010 at home. And it was just, the line covered everyone up front, a little single hesitation from the linebackers, and they're just stuck there when you have a guy already running past them. And really, just amazing that they got it schemed up like this. And again, you see the offensive linemen are that close to each other. They're getting movement. They're getting downfield. They're covering up linebackers where they can. And schematically, it feels like Ohio State is so on their toes that, they don't really know what to do. They're in their own heads. Instead of reacting and playing football the way you're supposed to, they're hesitating. And man, I can't blame them. The way not only our offensive linemen were coming at them all day, but our receivers were coming out there with the worst of intentions to put these guys on their backs.
And from right here, it's this is all just CJ Verdell at this point. This is just purely CJ's ability. I love CJ Verdell. I've been able to watch a large majority of CJ Verdell's games in person since he's gotten that starting role at the beginning of during the 2018 season. Man, this is just such impressive work from him. It's just pure speed all the way, even with the wherewithal to keep the ball. Nice 3 points of contact right here down as the run continues. He does get caught here, but as we mentioned, he's able to protect himself, protect the ball. Steps free. And he's
caught, but down he is never brought. Caught, but down he is not brought. Man, it was one of those plays where wherever you were at, I think you were screaming, because I think I got up and I almost threw my back out again, just running around, and oh man, started singing the fight song, all my usual nutso stuff. It was a fantastic play. And on 3rd and 3, you would be happy to just pick up 4 yards here, to be honest. I mean, that would make you feel like, oh, that's a big flex on this team. But to do it like that, woo, and the looks on the Ohio State fans, oh, it got quiet in the horseshoe after that one.
Well, and I'll tell you, this is one of those plays I think for a long time Duck fans are going to know where they were when they saw this play happen. I know I was sitting there. It was one of those situations where you're like, go, 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 and you just get more and more excited by it. You can't believe it's happening. By the time he was in the end zone, I think, myself included, this was, for a lot of Duck fans probably watching this, one of those first moments where you let yourself start to think maybe something's possible here. Maybe something's possible, because I know through the first half, at least, I was sitting there going, okay, they're looking good. They're looking good. This is going on. This is the moment of, oh, something really special might be taking place right now. A phenomenal run from CJ Verdell. He, yet again, just shows why he is as capable as he is, why he does get the attention he gets, able to take it all the way down like that. Really impressive stuff from him. Lastly, one more clip that we're going to go to. It's 2 different plays, but exactly the same. Very important here. It ends up being the final touchdown of the game winner, if you will.
No.
First, though, the run on 3rd and 6. I'll give you a hint, Duck fans. It was to the left side. Nick, before we even get into it, tell me if this sounds familiar. Trips to the top, running back next to the quarterback, tight end set below.
Yep, you're giving them the exact same look that they've already been scored on. You can already see with alignment a little bit that they've tried to adjust at trying to draw this up and how they want to play it a little bit better. But you love seeing this kind of chess over checkers football, man. Even when you play really, really tough up front, run up the middle football, you can still do some really, really fancy and impressive things and counter moves and counter punches like this.
Here we go. Let's just take a look at this one really quick. And before we even get too far into it, I do always like stopping right up here just to see what we're seeing. Nick, I'm seeing beautiful running lanes right here. Tell me what it looks like to you.
Yeah, the entire offensive line is washing everything down to the right, and you've got essentially you're putting those 2 defenders right there in a really, really tough position, because they're sitting there watching the mesh between the quarterback and the running back, and also having to cover the guy coming across field, which that front side linebacker can absolutely not come across if we end up throwing to him. So they're outnumbered essentially on this side. And as long as the offensive line is getting that kind of push, having, and the offensive line talks a lot about 5 as 1, and all parts of being fingers on one fist, and that's truly what they did in this game. And man, it was fun to watch.
It absolutely was. Here on this play, we see CJ Verdell out there yet again doing what he does so well. Ryan Walk, I just have to give Ryan Walk so much credit. There's a reason he was getting shouted out throughout the game. Such impressive work for him. A guy who grew up in the Eugene area, grew up a Duck fan, to be out here performing like this, doing this kind of stuff, really, really special to see.
Yeah, I love all 7 guys that they've had out there on the offensive line mix. From what I've seen, it's been something that's really made me really, really happy to see, because back in our day, it was just not physically the same, where we could impose our will on a team like Ohio State. We didn't have that capability all the time at all 5 positions, and these guys did.
So we see here CJ Smart gets out of bounds, good play, picks up the first down, 7 yards on a 3rd and 6.
Yeah.
Tells you a lot about Mario Cristobal, and I don't mean to sign about it. It tells you a lot about Mario Cristobal there, that he is going to run that ball on 3rd and 6 right there, and that they are very okay with it. This is a team that is so willing to punch to other teams in the mouth, and I truly love that.
Yeah.
And here, right here, we see, let's jack it up just slightly. Tell me, am I crazy, or does this look like something that we basically just saw?
It's basically, the perfect way to tie it all together with the formations we've seen. We're essentially right now a little bit different. We've got a tight end into the boundary, but you're essentially playing the same games with the defense here. And I love, again, bringing that front side overhang guy backwards either. And what I used to love it for is bringing a guy like that just for that kick out block on that backside defensive end if you're not going to read him, because that's a good way to get that guy kind of looking inside and getting nervous every time he's left unblocked.
Right here, you see everything you need to see. Every defender's eyes are in the backfield. Everybody's looking at Anthony Brown, except you got a freshman flying way free downfield right here. Nick, at this point, we all know what's going to happen. We all see it in development. What drew everybody's eyes in this direction, and how is it that Oregon was able to work their way down and then implement this just at the right time?
Yeah, schematically, if we want to talk boundary and field, look at how many, the two Ohio State defenders to the field there, and you've got everybody committed to try and stop us from running it into the boundary again for a touchdown. And then when you do that, you're going to get beat over the top or to the sides, because look at all the wide open space right there in the end zone and within the red zone, man. You're going to get hurt by that when you commit and sell out to stop the run on first down. And the game plan, essentially, it seemed like, Oregon's just going to ground and pound and wear them out. And every once in a while, just a well-timed pass play schemed up like this, it's beautiful. And, freshman getting this touchdown in the horseshoe, man, special moment.
Right here, wide open, bang, touchdown, Oregon.
Again, even another play, even you probably would have been able to make, just because schemed up that well, but real athletic. The movie makes off the line too. I love that they drew it up, but play it again for us. Love that play.
And I specifically love this angle because you can see Fox Sports had the courtesy to put the gold line right there, show you the path of the tight end, and really illustrates this angle specifically how every single Ohio State player is really locked in on 13.
Yeah.
Right here. Eyes, every set of eyes is either there or heading toward the sky after getting blocked.
Oh man. Yep. Nothing but field and easy throw, easy catch, and easy win to celebrate. And man, what a fun one.
So Nick, it's always fun to be able to go into the film room. It's always fun to be able to have those conversations, but now it's kind of time to look forward a little bit. You don't have exceptionally long, but we've got enough time to be able to talk about the Stony Brook Seawolves. And a question I have for you. So back about 11 years ago, you were playing Oregon football. We had a young, cool, hip Nick Cody out there running the streets of Eugene, much more so than the old man that's arguing on Twitter now. But back in the day, you guys were a very capable team, a very fun team. You went into Knoxville, Tennessee, got a big win against the Volunteers, and the next week you had to get ready for FCS opponent Portland State. This year, the Ducks went into the horseshoe against Ohio State, got a big win, got to come home, prepare for FCS opponent Stony Brook. Obviously, not the same talent level, probably not the same level of most things across the board. That being said, you got to prepare for every opponent. What goes into preparing for an FCS opponent, especially after such a big, heartfelt win?
Well, we were very lucky that year coming back. We weren't going to be able to overlook anybody, because if you remember in that Tennessee game, we got down early and we did not look good. And there were moments where we got Darren Thomas hit way too many times that game. So at least as an offensive lineman in that film room, man, there was a real gut check moment, because you didn't get to celebrate too long. As soon as we were in that film study on Monday, man, we were getting torn up, and those are the moments where you get a win and you still look back at the film room and you're not satisfied with how you got it, because you could have played better. That's when you've got a team, and that's the kind of moments that will show when you face a Stony Brook after a big win. And it's going to show a lot of team maturity if these guys come out and do what we did to Portland State, because as I remember that day, there was a couple early scoring series, and then everything's a blur from there, because I played every single position on the offensive line except for center. I think that may have been the most career plays I'd ever gotten, something like 60, 70 plays, and worn out at the end of that game. But I was so busy trying to figure out what position I was at and what number play call was, and like which am I stepping right or left. I was too busy going through that to remember the game. But what do you remember from that Portland State game?
Well, that Portland State game was a really fun one. I remember Michael James playing phenomenal as always, over 200 yards, a couple of touchdowns, including a super long one to start off the game. When you're starting the game with a 60-yarder plus, it's a really good way to get things going. Jeff Mail, phenomenal game that day as well. I know he absolutely mossed a Portland State defender in the back of the end zone. Earlier in the game, he had a great catch and run downfield where Michael James crept up. Michael James is so incredibly fast. He was able to get up field, caught up to Jeff Mail and the defender, and then was able to throw his body in front of the defender, really be able to spring Mail, make sure he was able to get into the end zone for that touchdown. That was a fun game. Also, for what it's worth, Duck fans, that was the introduction of the carbon fiber helmet. First day the carbon fiber helmet was ever worn, that Portland State game right there. A little anecdote, I remember a few years back, by a few years, it probably mean 8 or 9, I was in one of those youth basketball camps where they had a lot of volunteers there helping us learn the game. And one of those volunteers had played a lot of high school basketball, but he was currently playing college football at Portland State. This was probably the summer of about 2011. I remember I asked him, I said, "Hey man, I'm a big Oregon Ducks fan. Can you tell me what it was like to go down there and play against them?" He shook his head. He went, "Man, those guys were fast."
Yeah, we were pretty fast. And like you said, LaMichael getting down there for blocks. I mean, LaMichael and Jeff Miller were two of the fastest guys still to this day I've ever been on the field with. And yeah, we were going to beat them in a lot of places, but a foot race was one we were going to smoke them. We did that day. And the biggest thing is you get in those moments, and if you do everything you're supposed to do in your preparation, you get your starters out of there early, and then you get them room for the young guys and the development of those guys. And if we see everything play out the way it should for these Oregon Ducks, and everything, the expectations that have been set with the culture of Mario Cristobal, is that this team's going to go out, take care of business, try and avoid injuries as much as possible, and really just execute, not turn the ball over, churn up yards. And then when young guys get in there to make plays, man, I'm excited to see the new young talent and how much they're probably thirsty to get in there and get in the game with just the caliber of player that's here on the Oregon roster right now.
And that caliber is exceptionally high, the Oregon Ducks, a very talented team. The team they're going to be playing, maybe not the same level of talent, but you'd never question a team's heart. The Stony Brook Seawolves, excuse me for looking off screen a little bit. I don't happen to have the largest depth of knowledge about FCS Stony Brook, as I probably should for be doing this show. So I'll have to be checking in a little bit just to make sure I've got this right. One thing I will say, this is a program that started in 1984, relatively recent for a football program, but Chuck Priori, their head coach, his 14th season, that's called some stability right there. An 89-69 all-time record. Of course, they hail from Stony Brook, New York. Their colors are red, gray, and blue. They are known as the Seawolves. They shall be Oregon's opponent come Saturday. For what it's worth, they do have 4 FCS playoff appearances all time: 2011, 2012, 2017, and 18. This a decent FCS team. They are 1-1 on the year. They were one of those, I believe they had to play some spring games to make up for missed fall games after their 2020 season got canceled. This is a team that's coming in, again, very weird to have a season, a summer, and then another season again, but they're 1-1. What do you think, Nick? I know you're going to give your full breakdown for all of our VIP viewers. We'll be sure to get your full breakdown. But if you had to give a quick couple of thoughts of just how do you kind of take care of an FCS team like this, make sure you can get in and out with no real problems, what would it be?
Yeah, I'll probably be sending that to all of you poolside while I'm down there on downtown Vegas. But
if you're lucky, you'll see some Nick Cody's tan lines.
Well, that's why I've already been wearing this shirt, brother, trying to get that 45-day challenge shown off and get some sun on it, some vitamin D. So hopefully, man, the thing you just this season, you cannot take anybody for granted. And I want to reiterate that as we see with that team up north, any now and then a Montana could come in on the road and beat you. And this team, they've got to show that they can be consistent against everybody. We already know they can score more than 7 points at least. So there's that. And I at least want to see, though, I don't care about the number of points, but I want to see a limited amount of turnovers and mistakes. I'd like to see them cut down on some of those things that you can just fix with defensive play calling. Like if a team is going to run a back-to-back play, just run the same defense, run a base defense, have a couple base defensive calls. because essentially it's better than standing there not running anything. So there are little things like that that can be cleaned up, and I expect to see them with the discipline and culture of this team.
I think that they will be. One thing, Nick, that I was thinking about, it was something that our guest last week, Jeff Schwartz, brought up, and it was that Mario Cristobal's teams at times have had a trouble covering at home, being really able to do exactly what they expect them to when they're facing an inferior opponent at home. How do you go out there and just put the pedal to the metal, really make sure that you build a good lead and it's something that you can really feel comfortable with the rest of the game?
Yeah, it's all culture. It's like for us, we really built into that win the day faceless opponent. It really became everything about the process more than it was the opponent. The things that mattered about the opponent were, the keys you need to know about, which guys had certain tendencies, which guys lined up where indicated certain blitzes or tendencies for blitzes. And those types of things, those were really the individual, what made up different teams. And sometimes, you got one of these teams you weren't expecting that comes out and runs something completely different than what you've seen on film, and how you adjust live in game to that is really important too. So you just have to already have it built into you. And you have to believe from what we saw in week 2, if they can just consistently bring out a toughness like that, they're going to do pretty well against most teams. And regardless of if they cover or not.
I completely agree, Nick. And again, that cover isn't important at the end of the day. What's important at the end of the day is the win or the loss. It's just an interesting metric to be able to see how this team plays, and in games when we know they're supposed to kind of take care of business. One thing that I'll mention about this game that I really hope to be able to see is I hope it's one of those games where Oregon can build the lead in the first half, where we do get to see a little bit more in the second half of some of the younger guys. Obviously, you're going to have people pining to see quarterbacks. Everybody loves to watch the position play. We all know that. One position that I think I would love to see some guys get some run, and I mean that fully, is running back. I think there's a lot of depth at that position. I think there's a lot of guys who can get on the field who really haven't. I think a guy like Trey Benson, a guy like Brian Cardwell, a guy like Seven McGee. I would love to see all these guys with their opportunities. Aaron Smith, someone who played a really, really good spring for the Oregon Ducks. Hey, even a Cross Patton out there, somebody really these capable running backs that Oregon has that would be probably getting a lot of touches in most other places. These are some of the guys that I would love to see out there. Other than that, Oregon has primarily played a lot of younger guys so far early in the season, whether it's the tight ends. We've seen the dual freshman tight ends out there. We've seen Keith Brown at linebacker. We've seen some guys moving around. We've seen Troy Franklin out wide. I really like seeing this youth. I hope to see more of it against Stony Brook, again, especially that running back position.
Well, unfortunately, the reason we're going to see a lot of these players play early is because some of the injuries, particularly season-long ones we've already seen. McCormick, that was tough because he makes one big play. We're all excited as hell. And it's just, oh, man, he's going to make that extra play. And, one more season-ending injury. And, our thoughts go out to him. And, again, with Justin Flo going to be a season ender too, that's tough. But thank goodness we've been recruiting at the level we have. That next man up is more than just a hope and a prayer. It is an expectation. These guys, they were recruited here to Oregon to do exactly this, and that's the talent level. And before we'll get our predictions here, but the talent level at Oregon and that they're producing now at the next level, it's unreal, and they're going to keep it there if they continue to maintain this same level of intensity. And it's going to show up a lot in games like this if they really can.
I tend to agree with you, Nick. You just set it up, so I'll hit it out. Predictions for this game. I think this is going to be a game where we do get to see a lot of youth, hopefully, and we do get to see a lot of guys running around out there. You're the big guy. I'll let you get the final word on the matter. Personally, though, I think it's going to be about a 55-13 kind of affair. I think Oregon really probably puts up about 5 touchdowns there in the first quarter. First half, comes out to a 35-3, 35-6 kind of advantage. I could see them putting in some younger guys. The defense does a good job of primarily keeping Stony Brook out of the red zone, maybe giving up a late touchdown or possibly a weirdly early one. I could see either really taking place, but I'll lean later. So I can see about 13 for Stony Brook getting that late touchdown, a couple of first half field goals. Then for Oregon, as I said, about 5 first half touchdowns get you to 35. That next 20, couple of touchdowns, one in the third, one in the fourth, as well as a couple of field goals. You still got some field goal kickers that really do kind of need to figure out exactly where they are in the depth chart. So a great opportunity for that. I think it'll be a convincing Oregon win. I don't really think it'll feel that out of control at very many points. And I think this will be just a good opportunity for this team to really be able to spread its wings again after such a great game against Ohio State, get some youth out there, and just be able to get right heading into conference play.
Yeah. Well, I've got a little bit different take, as I usually try to keep it interesting, but this one just naturally came. I think after the performance last week and they go into the film room, I think Coach DeRuyter is going to have a lot to say to this defense. And, you know, they really performed very, very high, but especially getting some of these young guys in here another week, particularly being in new roles or, you know, and thrust into that too deep. I think we're going to see an entirely different defense. And we already saw a fantastic special teams unit, in my opinion, in that game at Ohio State. MVP Tom Snee is going to keep this team in bad field position all day. And
who said last podcast Tom Snee would be big? Who said that?
You know, you were right on, man. But I think this is the one. This is the one where I'm going to be spot on. I think this defense is going to come out with a fire lit underneath them. I think the offense is just going to have to go out, execute, make the right decisions, keep control of the football. I've got Oregon winning this one at home, 38-0. And I'm going to have to ask you, Sam, while you're there, please keep the students as long as you can. It's going to be hard, but please keep them there. Please.
I'll keep everybody like the bottom half of my section. That's all I can promise. That's all. After about 20 rows up, they stop listening.
Oh, man. But on that note, love it. Hope all of you that are there enjoy the game and go hit up Sam. He's very easy to find at the front of the student section. Show him some love for me on my behalf. And hopefully you guys, I give you guys some updates of how I'm surviving in Vegas, but I'll be out and about while the Ducks game is on and hopefully getting to catch it on my phone, but I'll be at the festival at the time. So probably going to be a little too loud for me to be guys sending you my play-by-play, but that's about it. We know we wanted to wrap this episode a little bit differently. So we'll give you another lightning yellow round, I must add. And to add a little bit, even more yellow and green to that, we're going to be talking for 2 minutes about what we saw from our pro Ducks this weekend in the first NFL weekend. Man, it's fun to talk about. I'm going to let Sam get the first one. And I know we've got some of the same ideas, but hope you don't steal any. Let's go.
Well, there are so many. I really hope I'm not. We mentioned the secondary. You mentioned Oregon DBU earlier and how they were going to be maybe taking that mantle. One guy who deserves so much credit, Diamador Lenore. My goodness, he played so many snaps, only allowed for one catch the entire game. It was for 3 yards. He was absolutely locking Lions down outside for the 49ers. Trust me, I'm a Seattle fan. It hurts for me to say that a San Francisco 49er is playing well. He played phenomenal. Pro Duck also on that team, Eric Armstead, give him a lot of credit. He looked really good as well.
Yeah, well, one guy that I was a little upset to see do as well, got his first and second touchdowns against my Packers, were obliterated. I mean, he's put on a little more weight than I have during COVID. They moved him to the tight end, but Jawan Johnson out there making plays with Jameis Winston of all people, man. 2 touchdowns from Jameis to a Duck. Didn't expect to see it, but it was awesome.
It was great to see. Now another guy that I know Duck fans are already can't believe we took this long to mention. Justin Herbert looks like a pro's pro at this point. It is unreal what we've seen from the guy. Forget a sophomore slump. He came out slinging, looked fantastic.
Yeah, well, another guy that looked fantastic, especially moving back over to the left side, was Pune Sewell, man. That first-round draft pick sure didn't disappoint. I know there were a lot of people that are a little worried of seeing him at right tackle for a couple games, but locked down one of the best defensive pass rushers in the NFL in his very first NFL game. And Pro Football Focus had him rated as the highest rookie offensive lineman this week over the Chargers left tackle there protecting Herbert. So I thought that was awesome. And getting to see him celebrate when the Lions were coming back close, that was getting me fired up. Just, oh man, the Sewell shout. Loved it.
Oh, that was so much fun to see. It was fun to see Panay be able to get out there and do his thing. One more that I got to mention before we get out of here. We saw him it was one play, but it's always so fun for a Marcus Mariota sighting, especially when he's tucking the ball like that, taking off for a big chunky yards. Came up a little slow after that, not feeling phenomenal, but you know what? It's always great to see the GOAT Duck out there getting a couple things done.
Perfect. 2 minutes, but gotta wrap up to get one final thought on Mariota. Remember, better fantasy numbers than both of my Packers quarterbacks that played in the game. So, hey, I don't know what else I got to say about that, but it's one positive I could take away from it, and I got a good chuckle out of in this NFL weekend. And that's our products, and we're gonna have a lot more product stuff coming for you this season. I know we already had one on last week. Hopefully, gonna get a few more and reschedule our guests we had planned for this week. But hope you join us. Hope you let us know where you're watching the show, how you're watching it, and what you want to hear on future episodes, because we enjoy doing this for you, and it's only possible because of your guys' engagement and enthusiasm for the Ducks. And once a Duck, always a Duck.